Hey everyone, it's Sarah, the elder millennial.
And this is Bill, the infant boomer. Welcome to Strengths on Fire, the podcast for strengths enthusiasts who want to have fun while leveling up.
Get ready for a mix of powerful insights, unexpected stories, and plenty of laughs along the way. Hey Bill, you want to light these strengths on fire?
Sarah, let's light it up!
Mr. Bill Dipple, how are you doing today?
I love my Fridays.
Oh, that's so good.
Love my Friday. I get up, and then for those that are listening, we generally record these on Fridays. We book a couple of guests, we put them together. We do a lot of stuff. And I thought, well, my Fridays are, I can't, they're going to be tough. I got so much to do. And I have realized over the course of doing this with you, Sarah, I love Friday mornings. I get up, we get together.
I love that we get to record on a Friday and the audience can listen any day of the week, which means if you're listening on a Tuesday when the podcast drops, you get Friday energy.
That's
hey,
right.
Who doesn't want Friday energy on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? I mean, give it to yourself on a Monday.
So
Hallelujah. Good. You're welcome. Thank you and goodbye.
We strategically put these out on Tuesday mornings for people to listen to all week to get that Friday party vibe from some powerful strengths. That's right.
Friday's the mullet. If you've listened to a previous episode,
you brought the mullet.
Like Sarah, is business in the front, party in the back. Whoop,
Friday after hours is backside, right? Like
right.
it. So, so good.
Speaking of a former episode, here's my question for you this week.
I'm ready.
If you could travel, if you could, I said it wrong.
Okay.
It's like talking is my job. My gosh. If you could time travel, would you go to the past or the future and why?
Yes. Do I get to come back?
Yes.
Okay. Because if I'm just traveling there.
Great question. Sure.
Right. But
you're just
so
time traveling. Just
so I'm coming back with the knowledge of where. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
I'm gonna go to the past.
Okay.
There is just
time.
Well, there's just too many things that I just. Hey, if someone was standing right there at that moment, right? And context is number 34 for me, so I don't tend to think in the past. I'm not a person that aims towards the backside. And by the way, if I only get to choose one, I'm thinking the past. I really want to go to the future too. I want to see where it all goes. But futuristic, I know, but futuristic's like 21 for me. So I don't tend to think in the past or think in the future well at all. I tend to think about right now. I tend to be here. So if I'm going to scratch that itch and I get to jump, I'm going to go to something that I think nobody saw it, right? Or something happened and there's confusion and everybody thinks if somebody had just witnessed that could testify.
Like a historical event?
Maybe something fun. Or maybe I go back and talk to myself in high school and say, stop being so uptight. Stop being so weird. Stop being so whatever. I don't know. I don't even know if I would have listened to myself showing up like, oh, man, you got old fast. Look at you. I don't know. But I would, if I'm given a moment to think about it, I might come up to something historically that might be pretty amazing. There would be several events in history that I might be like, that would be cool to see. Like that would have been amazing. So
we are so different. When I read this question,
that's partially why this podcast works, right?
Snuggle with my babies. Like I don't want my kids to be babies again. I don't want to live through that again. Sorry to our guest Sarah, who is in the middle of baby life. It's so. I don't know how you think about it, but there's so many good things and there's so many hard things. So I don't want to live there again, but I do want a nighttime snuggle because I just think the baby faces are gone and I'm never going to get them back. Those little babies are not there anymore. And I look at their pictures and I think, oh, the little babies are gone. So here
funny.
You are saying, I would go back to a historical event that no one was there and I would see it and I'm like, I just really snuggled out of baby. Get to little baby smells and kisses.
I'm like, I need to see something big. I need to make this one chance count. And Sarah's so genuine and so maternal. I just want to go hug and love and smell that baby smell again. So, for listeners, if you're ever wondering why we are so different and what it brings to the podcast, there you go. That right there explains why we do what we do, and we come at it from different lanes. So
that's right.
I would say that's good.
I am curious.
Sarah was maybe going to go Outlander. I thought you were going to say, listen, I'm going deep time travel. I'm going way back. I'm touching some stones, and I'm heading back into that historical moment.
Yeah.
That's where I thought you were going.
You know what? I like that too. Now
Wow.
that you say that, there is something really exciting about Outlander. And
Super
when someone
exciting.
explains the premise of that show, like it's time travel and they go back to Scotland, like way a long time ago, you're thinking, this does not sound like a good show. And then you watch it and you're like, holy erotica, this is a
great
good show.
Yeah.
This is why you need our guests' strategic ideation to help pick your destination, right? So
True. Let's introduce our guest. We've heard her voice. You've heard me say another Sarah. We have another Sarah on the pod today. One of my favorite Sarahs, and I got a lot of them.
What am I going to do?
Sarah Peterson, formerly known as Sarah Haskell. She is Assistant Vice President of Alumni Relations at Creighton University in Omaha, Nebraska. Formerly worked at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln and Alumni Association. She is so fun, so interesting, such a hard worker. I just don't think it is possible to not like this person who we have today. Plus, she's a dynamic leader who I have had the privilege and pleasure to work with, her and her team. And so we have her on today. Hello, Sarah Peterson.
Wow. Thank you, Sarah Collins. I would have let you keep going on that intro because it was really nice to hear a lot of that stuff. But thank you so much for inviting me to be here today. Bill, to get to talk with you as well. This is really, really exciting, and love everything you guys are doing, and feel so honored to get to be here with you today on this fabulous Friday. I agree. I love Big Friday energy. It's a great time. And then whenever you listen to this, we're going to feel that Friday fun. I love
That's right.
Previous episode, Sarah, she asked, the mystery question was, if your personality was a day of the week, what day is it? And I chose Thursday because it's a ramp in, but she was all about, no, it's Friday afternoon, Friday night, right? I am good to go. So I get the Friday energy. And Sarah Peterson, I just want to echo what Sarah Collins told me, and that she loves having you on this show because we've only talked now for about 15, 20 minutes prior to this. And Sarah Peterson brings the amazing energy of this podcast together in just the 15 minutes. I think Sarah Collins has already asked her twice to replace me on the podcast. So I think it's great. My job here is done. So
did not happen.
All right.
Now, will we make another podcast? Who knows? She was saying she's got podcast ideas.
Listen, I've got a lot of ideas. High ideation. I'm sure we'll get into it. But yeah, anytime you guys want, a side shoot podcast, let me know.
Well, or I think we need an add-on interviewer, right? Somebody that we bring on, on this one on a rotational.
I'm sorry, are you trying to replace me? I know that we have very similar energy and the same name, but I am irreplaceable, Mr. Dipple.
Sorry, technical glitch. I didn't. You got muted on that. So weird. So, Sarah, actually, and we like to get to Miss Peterson. We love to understand where our guest came from. So I love the title. Love that you're in higher ed. I was in higher ed for a lot of years, so I resonate with that in a lot of ways. Can you kind of hit us with your story of how you got to where you are, and maybe where that led to strengths, and kind of your career path, and just how did that happen? How did you end up where you're at?
Definitely. I'm with you, Bill. I love higher education. It feels like a calling. It feels exciting. It feels like there's Friday energy in higher ed all the time. And that's a really cool thing to say. So I went to the University of Nebraska Lincoln, go Big Red. And of
Woo!
course, Nebraska, Lincoln, really the home of CliftonStrengths. And we were so lucky to have strengths infused into our classrooms, into any student involvement that we were a part of, and really something that we had that kind of firsthand experience of learning about this deeper kind of understanding of yourself and how you can really activate yourself. So I got a really great foundation base of strengths at the University of Nebraska. When I graduated, I stayed and I worked at the Alumni Association, and I was involved in student activities with the Alumni Association and was able to really understand and see how important being a part of higher ed was after you experience higher ed.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved my time. My time at the University of Nebraska with the Alumni Association was phenomenal. I had one of the absolute best mentors, leaders, friends you could imagine. She was very strengths oriented. We got together for happy hour last week, so we are still very well connected.
Friday energy right there.
Friday energy.
Yep.
Yes. And so really my strengths journey continued there. We still did a lot of work with Gallup. We'd bring in Gallup speakers. We did workshops. So that really continued. And when my time at Nebraska, I knew it was kind of coming to a close, I was ready for something just a little different, wanted to spread my wings a bit, expand my own knowledge. And I think that's that learner in me and that input was just looking for something that, okay, how can I dive deeper and grow further? And I knew I loved the world of higher ed. I wanted to maybe explore something else. So I took a 1-year break from higher ed, worked at a really cool tech company here in Omaha, met some amazing people, started to understand a different type of work and environment. But also through that, I still felt this yearning for something that I was missing. And I love feeling fulfilled. I think we all do, right? I think no matter what your strengths are, you want to feel fulfilled in the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
And I was just missing that a little bit. And so I found out about an opportunity at Creighton, and I talked to a few folks because it's also very important for me to know kind of what type of environment I'm entering and who I'm going to get to be working with. I'm highly collaborative. And so I want to know the ins and outs of people. And for me, work is more than just 8 to 5. I know that I'm going to invest some emotional energy in that just naturally. And so for me, I really looking for that good fit. And Creighton was it. Stepped onto campus. It was like there's Friday energy here every day. And
So true.
Sarah has been a part of that. I think she's gotten to see it. And just the people that I got to work with, I was just blown away. And Creighton is also a strengths campus. So we do a lot of Clifton strengths. I mean, the Gallup worldwide headquarters is, I can get there in 5 minutes walking. Well, maybe running. But it's right down the street. And so we, in our office space, we have our strengths listed outside of everyone's office door. That was still a big part of our culture here. And so I've been at Creighton now for 6 years. It's been fabulous. I love it. Every day I get to work with the coolest people. And every day I get to flex my own strengths, but then I also get to work with my team to extract and pull out theirs, which for me is one of the coolest things about leadership and getting to be in this position.
Yeah. Oh, Sarah, I just love your story and your energy. It's so great. Today is just like full of energy, keyword, buzzword.
Buzzword.
I'm going to remind, or not remind everyone, I am like having a word moment today. We're here on the podcast, and I feel like my words are just slipping from me. So apologize to
It's
everyone listening to this as you do
Sarah.
for a
Sarah,
podcast.
it's my fault, right? We'll peek behind the curtain for a second. I threw Sarah a curveball today, and she had to call me to go, "Hey, are we getting on in like 10 minutes?" And I had to get out of bed and go, "What? Or is it right?" So I pushed our
wasn't gonna
timeline.
expose you,
I
for the
know,
record.
but I could expose me. It's okay. I threw Sarah a complete curveball today. All of it on my fault. All of it completely me. Just being like, yeah, I missed it. So if Sarah skips a few words today, it's my fault. We can blame me. It's okay.
I appreciate how you're taking the blame.
Yeah.
I'm still going to blame myself. We're coming in hot off of Halloween. I know this episode is going to
Yeah.
air later, but we are November 1st recording
Yep.
for another peek behind the curtain. And so, I have 3 kids. So it was a night. And
I'm
the
having a
morning-
candy hangover.
Candy hangover. That's right. I am definitely having a candy hangover. I indulged in a few too many Smarties. And let me tell you what, they did not make me any smarter. So, anyways, I am going to get into Sarah Peterson's top 10 Clifton strengths. Are we
Yeah.
ready?
Do it.
We are.
Strategic communication arranger, maximizer, ideation, relator, learner, self-assurance, input, individualization. That's what we have rounding out the top 10.
There they are in all their
Sarah,
glory.
talk to me about the evolution that you had with your strengths. Talk to me about strengths that you feel or have felt strong in, ones that maybe you've had to learn a little bit about to grow into, and sort of like when did that happen in your career and what did that look like?
Yeah. Um, let's see. I really feel like I have aligned strongly with my strengths at where I'm at. I feel like when I read them though and I hear them, it feels like my whole life they've been there, but I haven't known how to really activate and pull them out. And so it's through conversation, it's through experiences, it's through understanding that they're not fully my identity, but they're a part of me that I can pull and use, that I've really been able to live them. I feel like when I think about different situations, I can understand which ones I really want to lean into and where they feel a little more mature and where I'm like, ooh, that one feels a little raw for me, and why am I feeling that, and where can I kind of grow and develop in that area. So I think strategic has always been kind of that top strength that has really shown and kind of shined its light pretty bright for me. And I think I use that not only in my professional life, but in my personal life as well. And just kind of when I think about the path of the end goal of where I want to get to, but the path that I'm going to take to get there, and understanding that there are several paths that you can take to get to exactly where you want to be. And it's really just which one you want to choose, what you want to experience along the way. And I think that's always really stood out for me. But then it's that communication where I love storytelling and having that come through, and something that Sarah actually really helped me kind of digest for myself was within my storytelling, the individualization that I bring into it, and where I can communicate with very diverse groups of people or individuals, and I will change how I communicate and tell the story so that they can best receive it.
Right.
And for me, that's been really important in understanding how I can best coach and work with my team and really allow their strengths to shine through. And I think that's been one of the greatest gifts and one of the biggest challenges in being a leader with a team is really my sole purpose, besides my bottom line of making sure that we are achieving our outcomes, our goals, meeting our priorities, is really being that person who is allowing everyone on their team to be their best. And we're a high performing team. And that's what we went through with Sarah and going through that training and just being that biggest kind of cheerleader and supporter for everyone in that way.
Wow. Wow.
I love how you can hear so many of your strengths wrapped into there, right? Like your strategic plays out in even how you're thinking about communicating and the individualization, right? You're able to build relationships. You've got that relator theme, so you're really good at connecting with people. And so you've got 4 strategic thinking themes, 3 influencing themes, 2 relationship building, and 1 executing. And so it's really fun to hear those pop into how you describe your role. And you really are in a unique place. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you not only as a leader have to lead your team,
Yep.
but you also have to advocate for your team on a greater campus. Because, you know, for people who listening who maybe have never been in higher ed, there's this whole ecosystem there, and you're just one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And then you also have to advocate for your school and your team with the alumni, right? So you have your constituents that are the alumni. You have your internal constituents that are the other people at the university. And then you have the team. So you have a great deal, a great sphere of influence.
Right. Yeah, you're totally right, Sarah. There's so many people that we interact with every day. And I'm very lucky that I have a lot of team members who have woo really high. Mm-hmm. And so they are constantly winning others over. And that's so important and significant in our internal work with our cross-campus partners. Right. And having them understand the work we're doing and how we can collaborate together. And then with our alumni, those folks who have already gone through here. And we know that all of us, just as humans and in our daily lives, whether it's professional, it's personal, we have so many options. We have so many options of what we can do. Right now, these listeners, it's an option for you to listen, to watch this podcast.
Right.
You could have Netflix on. You could be watching, who knows what? Is Tiger King still a thing? I don't know. But you might be able to go back in your history and rewatch that, because who doesn't need a little bit of that weirdness in their life? But you have the option to go out for a walk. It's a gorgeous fall day. Sarah said it's right after Halloween. It's a Friday. The sun is shining here in Omaha, Nebraska. You could be out for a walk.
Right.
When we think about the audience and the folks we work with, our alumni of our school, they have so many options. So when we talk with them, we have to be able to communicate, to storytell, to win them over, to connect back with campus, to volunteer with something we want to do, to even attend an event. Mm-hmm. We are still seeing a lot of that post kind of COVID-19 pandemic hangover sorts of we're really protective of our social lives and attending things. And we are really choosy with that. So if we want to engage with our alumni, we want them to connect back with Creighton, we need to make sure that we are producing the highest quality opportunity for them. And I think knowing that for me, it's quality over quantity, I've been able to really hone that in through a lot of my strengths and learning more about my strengths and then infusing that into the work we do.
Wow. So good. I just want to say it shines through that you're near the Gallup mothership, right? Because so much of what you're saying and how you dive in. Sarah and I compare coaching notes a lot. We talk about groups we coach and how we jump in. I completely listen to you talk about individualization, which is your number 10. It's number 8 for Sarah. It's number 1 for me. And in listening to you bring it in, it just makes my heart swell, because so often we get to talk about your top 5, and then we want to push people to go into their top 10. We want to dive deeper and get into the depth of what those next set of 5 do, and how you do those naturally and reoccurringly as well. And so often it's hard to pull people into that. And I do this, but then screw all that other stuff. Look at individualization. Look what I do with that, right? And you jump right into it and hit it. So thank you for that. I love that. And in my brain, I was thinking, since I love individualization. It's really high for me. As I said, it's number one. Can you give me a specific instance of, like, from a student point of view or a reaching out point of view where you found your individualization, your number 10 theme was on fire, super strong, completely dominating and working for you?
Yeah, definitely. I had a recent interaction, Bill. It wasn't with a student, it was with an alumnus, which is mostly who I work with. We actually got together, we saw each other at a social gathering, and we are just kind of firing, talking. You can tell they are very high communication, probably a lot of woo energy there too. And they were talking to me about really what they loved about their Creighton experience as a student and how we could infuse that into their experience as an alumnus and one way to connect back. And this person is very, very active in our alumni community, very engaged, does a lot, is just kind of your ideal alumnus and supporter of an institution. And what they were asking for was a little off the beaten path of what we normally are able to do. But in hearing that and understanding why it was so important to that person, I'm able to take that information, come back, work with my campus partners, because what they wanted to do involved something outside of my purview. And so I also want to be really respectful of campus partners and not just promising, oh yeah, we can do that for you.
Right.
We'll make that happen. Because number one, that's setting up bad expectations in telling someone that, and that's not being a great campus partner
Right.
and collaboration. So go to my
It
campus
wouldn't be
partner.
strategic to do on a campus as a leader. So your strategic is like, I have to handle this well. And your relator's like, I can't burn relationships
Right.
that I
And
have
I'm
with
gonna-
these people on campus.
And I'm going to maximize this. I am going to maximize this situation to be the best for that alumnus, for our university, and for how we step forward. I hear all of that in there. So continue on. I love the individualization component.
Yes. So meeting with that campus partner outside without this individual presence, so we can really kind of dig in and see what is possible. And then it's all about communicating. So right after I met with that alumnus and they told me what they wanted to do, following up with them right away. So I followed up and said, hey, initially, as we talked about, this isn't something that's in my exact lane, but I'm going to figure something out for you. And so making sure that you're following up with them, that's that high communication coming through. And even saying to them, I don't know if this is possible because it hasn't been done before. So I don't want to tell you, we can make it happen for you.
Right.
Now, after having met with that campus partner, I can go to them and say, we have some options here. It might not be exactly what you were hoping for, but I think it's something that we can agree on that would fit. And I think that it could fill your bucket up and it could fill our bucket up too. So Bill, hopefully that answers your question. That was a pretty individualized way in which I work with an alumnus.
And I'd like to point out it was a highly individualized answer directly from you, right? You sliced it, diced it, cut it down, put it into its individual little pockets and doled it out. So, Sarah Peterson, an absolutely perfect example of individualization for me. So, and absolutely love that you brought that in.
And I love how you can also hear her learner and input. I mean, the way she handled the situation, learning about the person, right? Because there's those strategic thinking themes. It's your most dominant domain of your top 10. But you use it with people because you've got 3 influencing, 2 relationship building, and you're very people oriented. So you can hear how you're learning what they want, you're taking it, you're figuring it out, right? Your arrangers thinking like, how can we do this? How can we maximize it? And even the way you talk about strengths, you can tell. I mean, Sarah made a huge investment of time with her team when they were working with me. We did a whole high performing team program. We continued doing partnership coaching. You know, we have come back and done additional follow-ups. This is a huge commitment for a leader, right? It takes a lot to tell our people, stop what you're doing and pull back and focus. Sarah actually showed me when we were getting started, she had a little car. I give everyone in my sessions little cars. She's pointing at it if you're on the YouTube video. And it's a little pullback car. And it is a reminder for people. I tell them, put this in your office because you're going to get busy. You are going to have the long to-do list, all these things that have to get done, things that you want to do, just like Sarah Peterson was talking about before. There's so much that you can do with your time. You're going to think, yeah, I should do some of this professional development. I should try to grow myself, but I'm too busy right now. I got to keep going. And the truth is, if we stop and we pull back and we pause and we reflect and we learn, that's where the learning and development happens. And then when you let those little pullback cars go, if you're lucky, they go straight forward really fast and really quick. If you're not lucky and you get really cheap ones on Amazon, sometimes they drive around in circles, which is not the point that we're trying to illustrate. How many times has that happened to me in a session? But the point is, the pullback car, you stop, you pull it back, you pause, and you let it go, you get further faster. And that's what happens in our development, is when we give people the time and space to stop and pull back to learn, they get further faster. But we have to have leaders who are dedicated to making that happen. And so Sarah has been dedicated to making that happen for herself and her team. And I think her strengths allow her to see this assessment, to see the greatness it can have in people. And she gets the opportunity to learn and then give back and to infuse that. Sarah, is strength still something that you are using when you talk to your team? Tell us about how you really help yourself learn about your team through their strengths.
Yeah, definitely. We still use it. In fact, I brought the car to a meeting recently just to remind everyone. You both would understand this in higher ed and in a lot of different professions. Your year is cyclical. And so you have some busy times and you have times in the year that are a little more quiet, and we are in a really busy time. And so I brought the car because I wanted to make that visual reminder to everyone that it's okay to pull back before we shoot forward.
Yeah.
My team, again, they're so incredible and they're so talented. They are very high relationship building and they're pretty high executing. And so with their relationship building, they can actually often get stuck. And they get stuck in they're trying to make sure everyone is okay, that I have a strong relationship here, and they get stuck in the pullback. And so we talk about that and we talk about, okay, that's okay that you're in that moment right now. How can you pull in those relationship strengths that you have that are so high for you to help you move forward?
Yeah.
Because I think, if people they know their strengths but they don't understand them, I think that's a big difference. Is it's one thing to say you know what they are and be able to name your top 5, but are you learning about them and are you learning how to activate and implement them? And so we can find our identity in these strengths and then think that's the only thing. Like, this is what I am and that's it. And I feel like that's where a lot of my relationship builder folks that are very high in those strengths, they get stuck in their relationship building and they're like, well, I can't be strategic, I can't activate, I can't execute. And so it's really doing that pullback and reminding them, no, you can.
Yep.
You can pull these ones out of your tool belt, or maybe they're in the box on the shelf, pull them out, or lean on your team member who has those executing strengths, those strategic strengths really high. Lean on them and collaborate and talk about it. So yes, we still do that a lot with any kind of program, event, project that we're working on, because there's always something new. I think that's something I love about the work that we do. While we're cyclical, there's always ways to really update it. And my ideation loves that, and we kind of have to tamp her down a little bit sometimes. But my colleagues who are high in discipline help with that, because I do not have that high or consistency. Number 34 is consistency, and everybody's aware.
Nice.
But I am consistent in making sure that we do talk about and learn and activate our strengths.
Yeah. And you point out such a great point, you know, we live in a deficit mindset society. We're constantly thinking about what's wrong.
Yep.
And I talk to people when we do strengths about this because it is so easy to look at something and find the problem. We are just trained from birth to find the problems. And really, to have a strengths-based life, philosophy, culture, it's first focusing on what's strong. And so, yeah, sometimes people get stuck of like, I have now a limiting belief because these top 10 are all I can do. And because I've named them and I've claimed them a little bit, I feel like, okay, well, now I can't do these things. And it's flipping that on its head to say, no, you can do we do things from every domain, right? We have got executing, relationship building, influencing, and strategic thinking. Every single person does something from that domain. No one is like, oh, I do none of that. Even if you have none of that color in your top 10 or top 15, you still do it. You're just going to have to do it through a different domain. So those folks that are super high in relationship building, yeah, we get really into the relationships that it can feel hard to execute or strategically think. And the truth is you can do that. You just have to do it through relationship. And I love how you're coaching your people to say, team up together, right? The differences are advantages and we need one another. So what you're going to do is, because you like relationship, is you're going to partner with someone who's more of a strategic thinker. That's already going to motivate you because you've got an accountability partner with you. Working together makes those relationship people work better. And then you're going to figure out a way to do it that works for you. And the way that it works for you will look different than someone who is straight strategic thinker. But that's where the greatness comes, is we can come together and kind of have this rub of like, well, I want to do it this way. Well, what about this way? And that's how we get greatness. You know, people are always trying to run away from conflict. And yes, I have high harmony, so conflict freaks me out too. But to get things better in the best workplaces, the best teams, they know that conflict is not meant to be personal. It's meant to be productive. A little bit of friction creates a stronger bonds, better ideas. We need opposing thoughts, right? We need people with different approaches to come together so we can find better ways to do it. And it's going to strengthen everything we do. But it takes a lot of time and work to have the self-awareness to know how do we figure that out, and to know that you won't always have the answer. Because unfortunately, the work of the self and personal growth and development and professional development, it's never done. It's a journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And Sarah Peterson, I keep listening to you and I keep hearing the different themes as they pop up, at least in my mind, for how they sit for you. But I'm more curious, since you're really strengths aware, you work with a team, you're really there. Also, to pull the curtain back a little for the people listening to us today, Sarah gave us a little admission this morning pre-show. This is her first podcast, so she's never been on one. So I'm curious, the minute you got invited, the minute you're like, oh, it's real, here's the link, right? The minute that it became, let's do this, how did your strengths play out to that? Because we have the best guests on the planet, right? I don't want to, overstate the obvious, and you did compare us to a very famous podcast this morning that I blush. I'm very grateful, but you came in super high energy, super ready, super good, and you've never done a podcast. So what strength is that? What of yours, which ones do you think are leading that charge?
Yeah. Well, my physical strength right now is sweating, Bill, because I was pretty nervous, and excited. It's also excitement. As far as my Clifton strengths, I think my communication, that storyteller, came through really high in that. Ideation, I think just podcasts are such a cool mode in which we have been able to consume, but also create and to put things out into the world that allow people to learn and to digest different things. So I think that came through a lot. And then I think my self-assurance, Self-assurance is in my top 10. And Sarah and I have done a lot of work on self-assurance. And so when I initially got her email, it was like my stomach dropped, like this pit, like, oh my gosh, is this happening? And then it was like, it just rose up and I was like, heck yes, I am pumped. Let's dominate. I need a ring light. Do I need a microphone? Do I need a headset? Like, we're going in. And then I had to remind myself, you're not the podcast host, Sarah. You're just a guest. So you don't need all of the equipment until you start your own. But for now, let's just dig in and let's be a cool guest that can hopefully give some energy and help those who are listening and just, give some content that would be interesting to those who want to participate and who are choosing.
Yeah. Well, you're not a
love that.
podcast. You're not a podcast host yet. We talked about, guest hosting here, replacing me. We can't replace Sarah
Whatever.
Collins. So,
You were trying to replace me. Don't lie. She even
I
has
don't-
my name.
You both are irreplaceable. Irreplaceable.
Sarah-
Well,
Sarah-
the podcast described to you, it's a three-person show. So I'm just saying, maybe you
Clearly.
need
A filler.
Clearly. Sarah Peterson, just DM me later. Don't worry. We'll talk about it. I don't want to.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
slide right in.
I am
Sarah,
curious though for you.
Sarah Collins, you are irreplaceable. Don't ever.
Thank you.
I can't. So anyway, go on with your question. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. Now let me get back to the podcast, Bill.
Yes.
I
Yes.
appreciate the ego boost. Speaking of ego boosts, tell us about that self-assurance, because self-assurance is not always one we see in people's top 10. I love seeing it in your top 10. I know that you've had a journey with us. Can you tell us a little bit about the journey that you've had with it and what it means for you?
Yeah. For me, it really is that gut feeling of knowing what I'm doing is right for me. And so it's not this sense of, I know better than others or this overconfidence. It really is this kind of knowing of self and being comfortable with self. And it is something that as Sarah said, I had to journey to. And I think for me personally, and maybe others who are listening can relate, sometimes that sense of self-doubt can creep in. A little bit of imposter syndrome can creep in. And anything that you're doing, whether it's, you're trying pickleball for the first time, you're becoming a parent for the first time, you're starting a podcast, or you're leading a group of people in whatever that comes across in your life as. And for me, it started, my self-assurance was really high and mature in preparing to lead a group of people professionally. And then it got pretty raw pretty quickly. And that self-doubt started creeping in, and knowing that, wow, I am leading this group and I want to be the best possible for them. And so I'm going to diminish my own self-assurance so that it doesn't overtake them. And what Sarah really helped me understand was, they looked to me and I am seen as the leader and a trusted source because of my self-assurance, and that I can work with others and they can see this natural sense of trust, of alignment, of I know what's going to be best for the group, not because I have more knowledge or am more experienced than others. It's just I have this kind of gut feeling and can help others know that it's going to be okay in moving forward in this way. But really it was working with myself that it's okay to know that and to continue practicing that. So that is one that I really have had to lean into a lot and really kind of polish more in going from that raw to mature phase. And I'm not saying it's fully mature by any means, because I think we're constantly developing and growing in those areas. But I love that strength of mine, and I love that I can really understand it, and I can know when I do feel like I need to work on it more, or when it's really shining through and it feels good.
So you mentioned that you have that gut feeling. And in self-assurance, having the gut, having the understanding is part of it. But with self-assurance, having the gumption to do it, right? That's a big part of the self-assurance theme here too, where not only do I have the feeling, I've used my individualization, I've used my strategic, I've used the ability to come up with some feelings around where we're going to go. But when we deal a lot with self-assurance, or people that have it, it's having the assurance, the ability to step into it and lead with it and say, that's the direction we're going to go. And how much of an influencing theme that is, which it is, how people are like, well, you know what? I want to follow you. If you have that and you are willing to go there, let's go there. Let's step towards that with you, and let's see where this goes. And you bring it up as that possibility of, hey, I have that. We can get there. I want to get people going there. That is such a mature way to look at that. We use the mature theme frequently from a Gallup coaching point of view, but there's also, basement, balcony. There's all sorts of ways to have that term. But I would tell you that from my point of view, first off, Sarah can coach me anytime if she's leading you this way, because I just need more coaching to be better at what I do, but also just your maturity in understanding self-assurance, which is a theme that generally is towards the bottom of most of the assessments we see. That maturity to see it and understand it puts you miles ahead of most of the people that we see when they start having it, just having that component.
Yeah. First of all, I'm just like so proud. I'm just like sitting over like little proud mama, because I love hearing you talk about it. And I will say, I've actually had a handful of people with self-assurance lately that I've been coaching too. And it is a tricky one, because when not intentionally used, it can get out in front of us in ways that we don't like, especially depending on our other themes. And so it can feel like I got to pull this back and I got to hide it. But then when you're not using it, it's like, I'm not effective. I can't do the things I used to do. And I think that's the battle you were in. You had it, you were feeling good, and then you meet some rough patches and you start doubting yourself. Oh, did I do that wrong? Did I come in too strong? Am I taking too much? Am I being too much? I'm just going to hide this in a box. And that never works for people with self-assurance. Just like on any of our strengths, we have to use them all, right? We have to use them. We can't hide them, because then we're not only not effective, but we're not even being true to ourselves. So it's knowing, how do I bring this to the table and balance it? And I love what you said, like, you've gotten a better grip on it now, but every day it's a work in progress. That's when I talk about raw and mature themes. I'm always telling people, it's not like once you get them mature, they just stay mature. It's every day you're kind of, right? It's easier to get them mature when you've been practicing it and you know how to get there, but it's still every day kind of making sure it's in check, because you're tired, you're a new mom, you're tired, you're maybe not feeling on it, you got an email that's making you have a little doubt, you might slip into the raw side of it. And so, every day we kind of got to check ourselves to see, okay, where are we landing on raw, mature for these themes, just so we can get them moving in the direction we want. But it is also honoring them and not closing them away in a box, because that doesn't help us.
Exactly. It's being genuine, right? And it's authenticity and understanding and knowing your themes, and then leaning into them.
Yeah.
I think people gravitate, whatever your strengths are, they gravitate to when you use them and you are being your authentic self.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Totally. You brought up the self-assurance as, sometimes I have that little imposter syndrome, or I have those other areas. One of the things we talk about here, and we like to jump into, so you can expand on self-assurance, but you may want to pick one of your other top 10 here. You decide. Can you give us a for instance, or an example of when one of your strengths turned into a dumpster fire instead of being on fire? When did it get you in trouble? When was there a moment that you thought, okay, I got to turn this off, or this is getting me into some hot water?
Yeah. Oh, Bill, man. I feel like my ideation gets me in trouble all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And I love it. I love getting into a little bit of good trouble, you know? Um, but that ideation, especially coupled with strategic, arranger, and maximizer in that top 5, I can up with an idea. I can make it perfect in 10 different ways in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then let's do it. And what I don't have super high for me that comes out all the time is analytical and discipline and some context. So those are things that I pull a lot, and I do my car pullback where I'm like, okay, this is a great idea, but you've got to pull back and you've got to think about why and how it could be a good idea. And so ideation definitely can go a little crazy for me. And what's great is that I have a lot of really solid, good people around me to say, love those ideas. Let's put a little more pen to paper around it.
Yeah.
Because I also have some teammates who are, as I mentioned, high executing. So I can come up with an idea and all of a sudden they're done with it. They've executed before I've even fully thought it out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, shoot.
It's hot.
It's hot. And they did it. I have one teammate, she gets stuff done. And it is incredible. Her talent and skill level is just through the roof on that. And I will still be in ideation, but she's already finished my very first rendition of the idea instead of me getting to the end. And so it's really very teachable for me to say, okay, you've got to, sometimes I love your ideation, love where your head's at. You've got to rein it in a second and maybe tamp down your communication and storytelling it to other people right now. Hold it inside, use your maximizer and fully flush it out before we talk about it.
So good. Use the maximizer to think about it, to push it, strategize it, maximize it. Now, because I know I'm surrounded, my dynamic partnerships that you talked about are really aimed at high executors. Bang. You know what? Here is the fully flushed, ready to go. And if it isn't, you'll let me know. We'll maximize it some more. But we're not on stage 1. Well, here's stage 5. Let's go with it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think is such an advantage for you in a leadership role, I was just thinking about this as you were talking, is, you know, you can recognize you don't have all those executing themes, but you have partners who do. And honestly, what a great gift, because sometimes when we have leaders with a lot of executing themes, they want to do everything themselves and they really have to figure out, how do I delegate? I don't want to delegate. I'm just so good at doing it. And that can be a struggle. And so it's so wonderful, you know, that you're able to have these strategic thinking, influencing, relationship building themes that give you the power and influence, to give you the idea generation, and then allow you to delegate. Because I imagine that's easy for you to be like, here's everything I'm thinking. What do you guys think? Okay, go do it. And like the problem that they do it too fast sometimes, like what an awesome problem to have.
Yeah.
You know, really. And then because you get to learn how to then, I got to dose this out a little bit differently, but I can do that.
Yes. Oh, yeah. You're exactly right. And they feel good doing it. It's like that's when their strengths really get turned on and where they're just there in their groove. I got to be in my groove. And it's this just kind of beautiful synergy that gets to work together. But again, it's because we do focus and we're consistent in talking about our strengths and bringing them up and talking about them together too and sharing with one another.
There's that beautiful employee engagement section you're talking about. When we can talk about it together, I can fuel you, you can fuel me back. We're coming to work, we're ready to go. It's like you're the dream client, right? We love having people step in and understand how to use this effectively and how it comes back, how we view it from our eyes, how we let other people view it. It's a long haul to get some clients there, and it sounds as if Sarah once again has done a fantastic job, and you are all over this. So thank you for that. That's really impressive.
This is actually
I
just
got really lucky.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we like to bounce a fun question. We always hit you with the hard stuff. We throw a bunch of hard questions at you. We get that. So we wanna ask you a fun question. We're gonna throw you one that's just gonna get your strategy rolling, get your individualization, your ideation moving. You ready? You ready for the fun question today?
Ready. Throw it at me, Bill.
All right, here it is. You are suddenly the star of a reality TV show called Strengths in the Wild. What is your first episode about?
Well, Bill, something you don't know about me is that while I don't watch a lot of reality television, I do watch Alone.
Ah,
Is
wow.
living in the wild.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so, because I know that I could actually never do any of that.
Yeah.
So if I'm a reality show, Strengths in the Wild. Say it again. Tell me my prompt again.
Your question is, you are suddenly the star of a reality TV show called Strengths in the Wild. What is the first episode about? You are the star. What is that first episode? Because if I'm on Alone, I'm building a smoker, right? You've seen the guy that builds the, and then hangs the meat and does I'm going to live in a condo, a 3-story condo where I put it, right? So, and then you see the people that I'm just going to shiver under a tarp for the entire episode and win the money. And it just, it can be weird. So as the star, what is that first episode about for you?
So you are going to find me at a coffee shop. And you're actually going to find me talking with people to build a team.
Ooh.
And so, because I know with my strengths, I can't do it alone. And nor do I want to. And so it's going to be, I think, that first episode of me really flexing all of those top 10. A lot on that strategic, that communication. Probably a lot on the Relator, too. I think I'd really be leaning on my Relator and talking with folks to build out who is going to survive with me. Who do I need to survive in the wild with strengths? And so that's, I think, what the first episode is going to be: a lot of chatting, a lot of caffeine, and hopefully some good vibes from the coffee shop. The Mill Omaha plug.
Oh,
Hot spot.
wow.
Yeah.
How's
I am
that?
envisioning the Amazing Race-esque show, but you don't have a team at the beginning, right? It's like, okay, you have to go on the Amazing Race, but now you have to, the first episode is you going out to find your partner.
Yep. That's what it is.
Right. Or what's the other survival show where you start alone, but you can start building alliances with the other people alone?
Survivor.
No, well, okay, but yeah, there is a different one. I think Sarah Peterson, you know where I'm going with that.
I know where you're going with it. Yeah.
Right. And Sarah, I see you as that. You're the one that's in the middle. You've captured the lobster right. You've got a little camp going, and you're already strategizing. Well, I think Jim across the way is probably and Kim over here, and let's make that. And because of your self-assurance and your influencing, they're thinking,
I want to get her team.
That's the one I want to go to.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Well, Sarah, you were just a delight to have today. Thank you for taking the time to be with us this morning. Honestly, working with your team at Creighton was such a pleasure for me, doing the high-performing teams, getting to do partnership coaching, digging in and doing more one-on-one coaching with people. Creighton is such a great institution because everyone is so values-based. Everyone that works there truly believes in the Creighton values and mission. It comes out in everything you do, and being a strengths campus is so evident when I get to work there. And so any engagement that I have, whether it's your team or a different team, it's just a delight. People really are radiating strengths, whether it's CliftonStrengths or just their own personal strengths. And you don't always see that. And when you see it, it is something to not take for granted. As you know, working at other places too, the environment, the value system, and the leadership that makes a big impact on us and the people we work with. And so it's really quite cool what Creighton's been able to do there. And I think that they have really made the right decision in trusting you with this team, because you are a leader. Super power. You have this. Oh my God, the words today for me are just a struggle. You are a leader, powerhouse. Gosh, you know what I'm trying to say.
All right, I'm not taking credit. I'm not taking credit for that anymore. That's all Sarah. I can't. No, I tried to let her off the hook, and she just went off. So,
yeah.
And Sarah Peterson, thank you so much for being on with us today, hitting on all the high notes, talking about what a really effective team dynamic looks like, and how you bring in others, how you bring in yourself, how you see each other doing that. It is so rewarding to see people using it and getting so much out of it in the way that it sounds like you do. Of course, you have an amazing coach, so I get it. I'm sure that's why. But you're bringing so much to it yourself that it is fascinating to hear how you're doing it, and I can't wait to come onto your campus and cruise by and have you show me how some of it works. So.
Oh yeah, we got golf carts, Bill, so we can give you a tour.
Ooh.
You don't even have to cruise by. Yeah.
Well, do you have golf courses? Because that's, as an infant boomer, I need to play a little golf while I'm there.
He spends a lot of time golfing.
Oh,
if I can catch him, I know
we'll
he's
talk
on the
about
golf
handicaps
course.
in our next episode.
Wow. Speaking of, I got to wrap this up. I got a tea time in about half an hour. So,
thank you both so much. So appreciate coming on the pod. It was just a lot of fun, and Sarah, I love working with you. You have made such an impact on our team and me, and we appreciate your partnership. And Bill, such a pleasure to meet you too.
Great to meet you, Sarah Peterson. And with that, we're going to bow out. Thank you all for listening, and we will talk to you all soon. Thank you for joining us on Strengths on Fire. If today's conversation sparked something in you, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. We're here bringing you fresh insights to fuel your growth and ignite your potential. Remember, your strengths are powerful, so let's keep the fire burning.
And if you're looking to transform your organization through strengths-based strategies and coaching, reach out to Sarah Collins, founder of Collins Collective, or Bill Dipple, founder of Bill Dipple Strengths Coaching. Connect with Sarah at wearecollinsco.com, follow her on Instagram at sarahcoachcollins, or email her at sarah@wearecollinsco.com, SARAH. You can reach Bill at BillDipple.com, Bill, DIPPEL.com, or on Instagram at BillDippleCoach, or email him at bill@BillDipple.com.
Please note, the opinions, views, and interpretations of CliftonStrengths expressed in this podcast are solely those of the hosts and the guests. They have not been approved, sanctioned, or endorsed by Gallup in any way.
Until next time, keep your strengths on fire and let's light up what's possible together. Bye, Bill.
Bye, Sarah.